Hello. We've got another bird stream. We can thank Lauren for this one. A couple days ago, I was out at my sister-in-law's place. Bird. Sorry, I got a call from Lauren saying, "Hi, I've got a dead bird. Sorry, I have a dead bird. Would you like it?" To which, of course, the only logical reply is, check your messages. And so I checked my messages, and this is a yellow-bellied sapsucker. You can see the yellow belly a little bit if I flip it over. It seemed to have been down for a while, unfortunately. So it's not completely fresh, but it is frozen, so that's nice. Yeah, so I have the sketch. Sorry, yeah, yes. But I also felt like I think it's a bit telling that my brother sees a dead bird, and his first reaction is to ask me whether he wants me to save it in specifically my parents' freezer. So it turns out that I was about to come over to visit my parents. So I'm here for Canadian Thanksgiving. So I'm in my parents' playroom. They have my nephew's playroom at my parents' house. So they put together a little playroom in their back extension for my nephew. And so I will be sketching here. So I've got some interesting. I was gonna have my headphones on, but I don't. How's my sound? What's my sound piping through? This sounds good. Good. Just because I hooked up, I have some new Bluetooth. I have a new Bluetooth headset. It's upstairs though, but it has a microphone and what have you. So I was concerned. I was running it through sound. Then there's nothing too exciting to see here or to hear here, I guess. Regular sound and just a somewhat different lighting situation going on. I don't have my regular lights. Your sound is fine, but image is a little bit pixelated for me. Okay. Let's see if I can. So first of all, I want you to check your own settings. If you look in the top right corner, I believe that's where it is. You have a if you're still having trouble, then I can switch internet. 720p pixelated for and vid in and out for me. Okay, cool. So give me a moment and I will fix that by switching. That's annoying. Wait a moment. I'm now upside down. Why am I upside down? Rotate device. But what if I don't want to rotate device? Sorry, I'm just gonna okay. Okay, sorry, how's our video now? How's my connection quality now? If you might have to go and adjust your settings again. I think I have a stronger connection now. Good stuff. Okay, I'm glad that's working out for everyone. So I'm at my parents'. I brought my Roman Schmal set, which I've been using a lot lately. So this is just a custom set of Roman Schmal that I put together from all the various Roman Schmal that I bought, as well as a bunch of these. Like more than half were generously gifted to me by Roman Schmal. So I've been using this set a lot. It's just in one of the little White Knights flat tins. I really like this. If you want a similar set, there is a similar set by a Polish artist that's got a very similar selection of colors that was recently released by Roman Schmal. Cute sticker. What sticker do I have here? Oh, this is by Sarah, I believe, Sarah Bailey, I think. I hope I'm not giving you the wrong YouTuber. It was sent to me as well. All right. Sorry, I'm just gonna try to relocate this so that you can see it a bit better. So yeah, how are we doing? Doggy training bag. So my mom is taking care of Ember right now, while I'm in the back room sketching dead birds. How is Pupper? Pupper is sweet and adorable. Oh my goodness. So she came on intercity transit with me. So there's like a commuter rail. We want to see Pupper. You are not going to see Pupper as long as I have a dead bird on this desk. That's not happening. Sorry, that's not something that I want to see pan out. Sorry to disappoint. Potentially later I can swap this out and show you Pupper, but also she's probably going to be napping soon enough. Has she been learning all the things? She has been learning all the things. She's very bright and she learns things really quickly. So she has been doing heel training recently, and that's been going well, although now I'm at my parents' house, and they have a big golden retriever. So she's walking with another dog, which is a very exciting thing that's making training, you know, it's an extra challenge. Now, it's good to challenge her, but it's just a little bit above her threshold to where she's actually able to focus through it. So we're having a little bit of trouble with that. But she's doing really well. She was a superstar on transit. She's getting a lot better with her house training. She barely has accidents at all at home anymore. She can handle our stairs, which also helps with the not having accidents. She's off of her... Oh, I feel like I have messed the proportions up here from not looking closely enough. So that will teach me. And yeah, so I'm just gonna have to adjust here. So this is just gonna have to come out to maybe here. Yeah, I had... So, pro tip, guys, look at your subject rather than chatting about unrelated things. Otherwise, you'll get things out of proportion. And the floors rejoice, so they do. Oh my goodness. Do the floors ever rejoice? Andre Gosik's palette. Weird. Sorry. Yes. Yes. The Andre Gosik's palette of 24. Yeah. So, I saw that palette and I was really super excited because it includes a lot of my favorites from Roman Schmal. Now, I haven't personally purchased it. I resisted because even though I was so tempted just because it looks like such a great selection that's so similar to what I frequently use, when I looked at it, there was only like two things that were different from what I've already got in the palette that I put off. Now this has more than 24 in it, but it's got a lot of the same colors. So if you are curious about working with a similar palette and you are interested in buying a Roman Schmal palette, I would definitely recommend looking at that one because it looks like a really great selection. And I may yet at some point buy it just because. But yeah, this isn't that palette, but it is very similar what I'm using here. Bird proportions are always weird to my eye. Yes. Birds are weird little creatures. They absolutely are. I completely agree with that assessment. And then, of course, this is a little foreshortened from the angle that I'm looking at. And then of course, it's dead and it's flattened and there's a lot going on here to try to keep track of these proportions and not get too thrown by how weird birds are. Sorry, I know that I'm casting a shadow on this. I wonder if I can just a little bit more light this way. Yeah, so there's a few things to keep in mind when sketching from death, I guess, from dead birds. So dead birds, this, like most dead birds that you'll find, I didn't kill a bird for this purpose. That would be horrifying. This, like so many birds that you will see artists sketch, is a window strike. which my brother, Lauren, who's in this chat, found. The proportions are going to be a little bit off. It seems like it's been sort of flattened. I imagine that's just a hazard of how it fell. That its rib cage has sort of collapsed a little bit in one direction. The last bird that I sketched in this way was something that I found. Was a Baltimore Oriole, and at that point where I found it, it was pre-rigor. Like it went into rigor mortis on my way home. So it was a very, very recent strike. It hadn't had any time to degrade in any way. This one, I suspect, was out a little bit longer. My dad said that there were some ants on it. Now it's been in the freezer for a little while. So there should not be, I shouldn't see any ants crawling out. It's frozen through. But you're going to see some degradation. There's obviously some disruption to the feathers. There's some disruption to the shape of the bird. It is very useful to use birds like this for reference for patterning, but it's not, you're not going to get, if you try to use this as a reference for a painting, unless you're deliberately painting a dead bird, you're going to need to do some serious research on posing, because this isn't anything near a real pose. You're going to end up with, well, if you use this, it's obvious it's dead, right? Window strike one day. Yeah, so this is a window strike. Oh, right, sorry, you have a maximum bound on it because you knew it wasn't there the previous day. I think it'd take a lot of persuading to put a dead bird in the parents' freezer. Apparently my parents just took to this because I didn't even speak to them. I just showed up and they're like, "Oh yeah, your bird's here." So I don't know, maybe Lauren can answer better than I can how much persuading it took to get my parents to accept a dead bird in their freezer, but I believe that they were pretty cool with it. Sometimes I have a complicated relationship with my parents, but this isn't one of those things. They seem quite happy to have to hold my dead bird in their freezer. I've been surprised at how easygoing people in general are about dead birds for me. Has there been a lifetime of knowing you? Well, there's that, but also, my interest in dead birds didn't come from nowhere. My mom worked in the bones lab at U of T when I was a little kid, and I'd tag along with her. So, she knew this was coming. She knew I had a bones collection when I was little because she helped me get it. Worked where? Oh, okay, so universities have collections of skeletons, so like animal skeletons, for comparative anatomy and various other classes. So my mom was an anthropology major. She was doing her master's when she had me. And her work for the university, so she had student grants, and her work for the university was at the Bones Lab, where they clean animal carcasses and save them for the university's collection. And so when I was little, I would come visit the Bones Lab with my mom, where she worked. And so the lab coordinator there, lab director, Dr. Savage, bone slab. Oh, okay. Persuaded suddenly in the opposite direction. Sorry, so the when I was there, the lab director, they had a bin of discard bones. You know, not every specimen that the university receives is going to be something that they want to keep. So they had a bin of discards, which I'm sure got emptied more frequently. Like, I'm sure that somebody was onto me. But I got to, so, you know, they generously let me bring home a bone for my personal collection every time I visited, which I loved. And at some point I found an elephant toe bone. And I decided that I was going to build an elephant one bone at a time. I'm not sure, like, trying to think back, I was a little kid, right? So I was like 3, 4 at this point. And I still remember this clearly. And I'm not sure, like, I know that I understood that you can't just, like, you know, build an elephant from bones and that it'll just reanimate magically. Like, I know that I got this at some level, but I definitely had this idea, like, I was just gonna collect all the bones for an elephant and then I would have an elephant. I don't think it occurred to me that, you know, the bin, it was big enough for me as a 3-year-old to climb into, but it was not, there's no way it could have fit an elephant skeleton in it. So there wasn't a whole elephant there. That part did not occur to me. I was just digging in there for the elephant bones. And I did get several toe bones. I memorized all the feet, all the bones in a foot for this purpose. I couldn't read yet, so I was getting someone to read to me, and I'm not sure who. My mom says she doesn't remember this episode clearly. Like, she knew that that I had some elephant bones, but she didn't realize that I was trying to collect an elephant. But somebody did, I'm sure, because this lasted for, it had to have lasted for months. And I'm sure that they emptied that bin more frequently than that. But so I'm sure that somebody was saving the elephant bones when they emptied it. My mom thinks that the elephant bones that I had, she said she sort of remembers there was an old like the university received a Victorian side table that was made out of an elephant foot, so it was just the foot. Like, that's why it was in the discards, was there was just, you know, what are they going to do with just a foot? I always found it weird that over here the human remains in the forensic anthropology lab are color-coded, rose and baby blue. Sorry. Like, by gender? Or, sorry, color-coded how? I'd like, what are, versus, like, other kinds of remains, or how are we color coding? Oh, the labels on the drawers. Fascinating. Not the skeletons itself. Okay, so you're not like painting skeletons. Right. Gotcha. Yeah, that's a little weird. That is a little weird. Anyway, so yeah. So I guess that explains my parents just like not being surprised or alarmed that suddenly their freezer contains a dead bird for me to sketch. Um, they're probably just surprised that that didn't happen sooner. Uh, uh, Now, my husband was not, like, he'd made it very clear that I was not welcome to bring dead animals into our home, um, for art purposes. So I was very surprised when I brought home a Baltimore Oriole, the last dead bird, and he helped me pack it into the freezer and then didn't complain about it being in the freezer for over a year. But yeah, so in general, I've found people are quite accepting of dead bird. That's interesting seeing this as I'm drawing it because the angle when I look down at this is a little different from the angle that uh, the sorry, that the camera sees. So it looks distorted on the camera because I'm sketching from a different angle. Yeah. Yeah, so sorry, where I was going with the elephant bones. I'm sure that some lab tech there was pulling out elephant bones every time they cleared that bin so that I would continue to build my elephant because somebody thought that was hilarious. That the 3-year-old was building an elephant or the 4-year-old, I don't know how old I was. Young. My mom didn't realize that I was building an elephant. She was surprised to hear that decades later. Anyway, I never did obviously build an elephant. I just had several elephant bones. My one of my favorite games as a little kid was I would set out all my elephant bones on the ground, like the elephant cemetery, and then I had quince dolls, which are like little baby dolls that are quintuplets. So there's 5 identical little babies. They were like this big. Um, uh, and they had all sorts of accessories, but I didn't play with the accessories that much. What I did was I had a manta ray model, and I would put a quince doll on the manta ray model and like fly it through the elephant cemetery. This was a great game that I did a lot. So, basically, I was a weird kid and I haven't changed that much. I'm just me aged 7, but, you know, bigger. Taller, more anxiety. Okay. So I'm gonna pull out, I have no idea what kind of brushes I have because I just grabbed, okay, good, I do have at least one large brush. And apparently I've drawn this a little bit larger than life size. Whoopsies. Let's try to shrink that down just a little. Okay, actually, I'm just going to shrink it down with paint. That's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to take some buff titanium and I'm going to mix it into this yellow that I had before. I'm going to use a bunch of it. And then I'm going to mute it down. I'm going to add some, this is raw sienna, Monte Amiata, I believe. And I might add some palette mud as well, just to get it nice and muted. Because what I'm doing here is I'm just trying to establish the form. And shadow. So I'm just gonna throw some color in there. How dare you? You weren't a weird kid. You were an interesting one. No, I was a weird kid. Like I don't mean that in a you know, bad thing way, but like let's just call it what it is. I was a weird kid. Not embarrassed about it at all. Like really quite proud. It's a good weird, but hi Stephen, how are you? So I'm just doing an initial wash here. Just getting some tones in, just to create some depth. And then once I do, then I can start painting in patterns and more careful shading on top. But I just, you know, if I just start painting right away, then I'm gonna end up with it flat because the whites in the shadow area are gonna be the same as the whites in the not shadow area, so it's gonna end up flat. That's what I'm doing right now. Just trying to create a little bit of there. And gonna do the same sort of thing in here. Okay, so then that's just an initial wash, and I'll just, I might actually just add a little bit more of some kind of more goldeny yellow over on here, because it seems to have a little bit more color. Try to bring out that gold tone because it is a yellow bellied sapsucker. So it has a yellow tone that other woodpeckers from our area do not have. So I'm gonna have that in here. So I've just added sort of a more orangey tone for those two wing sections. I'm gonna enhance that even a little bit more. Again, these colors are quite bright that I'm putting in right now. That's not realistically what this bird looks like, but these are just gonna more or less disappear as I go in with thicker layers. Like, they look kind of garish right now, but they're not gonna, you're not gonna see all of this purpley stuff as purple once there's some darker colors in. Okay, we're done. And so I'm just gonna leave that for now. Maybe throw this in, and now this is like this whole area is wet, so I'm just gonna leave it for a moment and chat for a bit. Oh, Losing it's not Lauren's kid. Lauren's my much younger brother. I would be concerned if he had a kid. We have an older sister who has a little baby. He's not so little baby anymore. He's almost 2. But well, 1.5. He's 18 months. Yeah. So we'll both be seeing little baby in a couple days. He's super cute and he'll get to meet Ember. Okay, so while this works on drying, I'm going to make myself some kind of rich black mix. So I'm going to put in, I have Prussian blue, Perylene violet, and Perylene green deep here that I'm just sort of swiping across like mad to make something that's a very, very dark black over here. Maybe a little bit more of the violet in the middle. Sorry, I will lift this over so you can see it. So that makes a very, very dark black. I'm also over here, I have, I think it's called Roman black. It's a very, very granulating black. That's just a black pigment, but it's granulating black. So in some areas I might play with that as well. To try to create some texture in those feathers. But so I'm first gonna probably start working with the mixed black, which is going to be very staining, and then I'll go to the other black. Did you say Perylene green deep? That is a new dead bird? Yes, there's a new dead bird. So this is a yellow-bellied sapsucker. The last dead bird that came across my channel a couple of times was a Baltimore Oriole, which I found. This is Lauren's dead bird that Lauren found and delivered to my parents' house. So there was some discussion about what? Your brother delivered a dead bird to your parents' house, and they were just like, okay, we'll just put it in the freezer, which is absolutely what happened. Is my parents stored a dead bird in their freezer for me so that when I came to visit with my dog, they could babysit my dog while I paint a dead bird in their grandchild's playroom. Lauren doesn't have a baby, but he does have a dead bird. Correct. Well, actually, it's mine now, so you know. I don't have a baby, but I have a dead bird. I also have a baby dog. Okay, and then I'm also gonna start mixing. Well, mixing, yeah. I'm gonna make myself a sort of deep vermilion color by mixing Aquarius red with a transparent orange. Yes, Stephen, I did say Perylene green deep, PBK 32, which is only available from Roman Schmal. I was very, very excited about the concept of Perylene green deep. I will say though, having tried it, I prefer regular Perylene green. Don't really see the need for the deep version. It's a little bit less, it's a little bit more yellowy. Perhaps a little bit deeper, but I'm not even convinced of that. It's more yellowy. It's got a little bit of granulation, which I think is just down to the processing rather than a difference in the pigment proper, although I could be wrong about that. But since it's only available from Roman Schmal, like if you're going to get it in ready-made paint format, it's going to be a little bit granulating. It has some texture. Sure, it seems way off. Yeah, no, I find PBK 31 to be more on the bluish side of green. PBK 32 is very similar, but just somewhat yellower. Still a fairly bluish green, and still very, very dark valued, but somewhat yellow. So that's, as far as I can tell, the main difference between the two of them. I would not, like definitely you don't want to have a palette that has both. That is way overkill. And to be honest, given that you're not going to have a palette with both, if I was choosing one, I would go with the regular, the PBK 31. But, you know, kind of neat. What a weird selection of brushes I have. Okay. Yeah, it must be easy to adjust at the lower. Right, exactly. So if you take a regular Perylene green, you add a drop of yellow to it, you're gonna end up with Perylene green deep, right? There's no pressing reason why you would need both. And vice versa, you know, if you have this one, you could put a drop of blue into it, and it would come out like PBK 31. So I have PBK 32 in this palette and no other palette. Full disclosure, I did get it for free. It was sent to me by Roman Schmal for review when it was released as part of a selection of new colors. So I've got my black puddles here, and I'm just mixing in like little bits of other paints to adjust the color back and forth, because in some areas it's a little bit more brown or a little bit more blue or a little bit more something. And so I'm going to be working in some layers. This isn't going to be a super, super tight rendition of this. There's definitely, for example, going to be brush marks showing, but I just wanted to, you know, get some good ideas of the colors, and try to get a good depth and range to this. OMG? OMG what? Well, this is kind of neat. So I've been, I guess, a little bit impatient here. And so a lot of my areas here aren't fully dry. I actually like what it's doing. So I'm just gonna let it play out. I am gonna not throw as much pigment on so that I still have some room to adjust later, but well, I like the painting right here too, but I'm still gonna push it a little further. Gotta have something for you to watch. Content, content, content. overpaint my work, but mainly because it is all practice for me. Yeah, I mean, I think that practicing where to stop is also a valuable practice, but I think I think I've still got a while here before I'm overworking. I am definitely guilty of overworking sometimes. So it's something that I try to watch out for, but I think that in this case I can still do a fair bit before I get to that point. Um, like there's nothing wrong with people who choose a looser or less polished approach. I'll take a photo of something and then work more on it. Yeah, that's an approach. Um, if somebody paid me to paint something, I think the approach would be way different, though. It's interesting. I feel like I put more pressure on myself for paid work in some ways. I don't know. Sorry, I put more pressure on myself for things that are that I hope to make money off of. So this is why I find it important to keep a sketchbook practice. To have paintings that are not for the purposes of selling, right? Like this painting is never going to be sold. It's in a sketchbook. I know that there are people who sell their sketches. I feel like that adds some extra stress for me. I've done that in the form of monthly, or sorry, daily art challenges for a month, for a year. I've made a video about how I feel about those, why I won't do them again. I think it's valuable to learn to take some pressure off of your paid work as well. But I definitely find the freedom of having a sketchbook that I can just play in and not at all think about, you know, what will other people think of this, not have to face the embarrassment of hanging something that I'm not proud of, and, you know, not trying to work to avoid that. Gives me some freedom to try things that I otherwise wouldn't, and that then will help me in the longer run. And then you paint it on film. Yeah, somehow that feels different. I mean, I think part of why that feels different is because of the daily art challenges. So, there's that. Where I've gotten over a lot of my hang-ups about sharing art that's not perfect. Like, I used to have a lot of hang-ups about my sketchbooks, and so I would be constantly starting but never finishing sketchbooks because I messed up a sketchbook. I wouldn't want people to see that, and whenever you walk around with a sketchbook, of course, everyone wants to see the sketchbook. Oh, what's inside? I mean, I'm guilty of this too. It's very interesting. It's not like anyone else cares what your sketchbook looks like inside, but like, sorry, everyone, lots of people are curious, but nobody's going to judge you for like, oh, well, you have a messy sketchbook. And yet it's hard to not judge yourself. So the first step was just getting over that and forcing myself to start finishing sketchbooks, whether or not they are ideal. Like just keep working in the same sketchbooks. I mean, I say this, and yet I'm starting a fresh sketchbook. Even though I have several sketchbooks on the go. But in my defense, this is a different size of sketchbook. And that's why I'm starting this, not because I don't like the other sketchbooks and don't plan to finish them. I do absolutely plan to finish my other sketchbooks. In fact, most of my other sketchbooks are most of the way to finished. But I like having one of these sort of intermediate sizes for travel. For pro work, I would exhaust the fundamental so pre-sketches and so on. I can't handle doing pre-sketches. Sorry. I do lots of studies. I do lots of stuff like this. Where, this will come in handy at some point when I'm painting a yellow-bellied sapsucker. My Baltimore Oriole sketches will come in handy for a Baltimore Oriole painting that I have planned that, whatever. I do preparatory work. I'm not against preparatory work. I do thumbnails. I do all of that. But I have real trouble with, like, painting the same piece 3 times. I know that some artists do that, where they pretty much do a practice run, full size or near full size, of their painting to try their color combinations and try their layering and try this and that. I cannot do that. I will sometimes revisit a subject or a painting idea a couple years later, where like I feel like I have an idea, I like the idea, but my abilities aren't quite where I want them to be, and so that's a case where I will actually redo the same thing, but generally I don't have the patience to be redoing work that I just did. So I adjust my process accordingly. I paint things once. So I don't even like, people will draw their layout and then transfer it. I don't do that. My process for finished paintings is not all that different from what you're seeing here. There would be more layers for sure if I was doing this as a finished painting. There would be a little bit more careful measuring to make sure that everything is in proportion and life-sized and what have you. But yeah. Yeah, but then you can start again. If you're painting, say, the ceiling, you want to get it right. Right, so preparatory, right, so I want to make a distinction between preparatory sketches versus, like, repeating work, right? So I definitely do preparatory sketches. This is a preparatory sketch for something. I don't have a piece planned for this yet, but I do all sorts of preparatory sketches. I do references, I do color studies, I experiment with things. I'm painting all the time things that either I have an idea that I'm trying to work out, trying to figure out how to do, or I'm or just stuff like this where, like, I have a series of bird illustrations planned, and to some degree it is dependent on the availability of subjects. So I did not have a yellow-bellied sapsucker planned, but I'm sure that I'm either for that series or at some point later will be asked to paint one. And so having this understanding of the patterning, the colors, all of that is super useful. I do all kinds of preparatory work for paintings in that way, but I'm not gonna I'm not going to paint anywhere near full size with the same colors, with the same drawing, with the same whatever. I'm not going to do the same drawing 2 times. So I'm not going to draw something and then transfer it, unless the case where I transfer things is if I'm playing with different layouts. So then I might place them on transfer paper and just use that to play with layouts. That's the only time when I really transfer things. If I have an image idea in my head, I know what the layout is, I just draw it on final paper. Because I find that I screw it up more than I help myself if no matter the size, like it, a full-size watercolor sheet. Hey, Lauren. Yeah, Lauren, thanks for saving this for me. I am glad that you were so thoughtful. Nope, that's not where I wanted that line. Sorry. That's not helping. That's not helping. I need to lift that out somehow. And I'm not home and I don't have a helpful implement for lifting that out. Maybe a dry brush? Let's try a dry brush. Clean brush? Yeah, that's the ticket. I need to lift that out. I've helpfully used like the most staining pigments there. Definitely need to lift that out. I'm due for new brushes. All of my brushes are getting worn down, so people ask about how long my brushes last. I use Kolinsky Sable, so cruelty-full brushes. I find they last, they keep a satisfactory point and they distribute water better, and they last longer with that fine point than synthetics. But it's still every about 2 to 3 years that my daily use brushes need to be replaced. The And that's specifically for like a size 3 or so. The little teeny tiny brushes, I get more of. I use them less frequently, and they do need to be replaced a little bit more frequently because they just need to hold that needle point. There's no other reason to use them. Now, my old brushes do still get used. They just aren't as useful for fine detail work. So I do have brushes that are right up to about 7 years old, I think, are my oldest brushes. 7, 8 years old. So just, you know, that's that question answered, I guess. So I've got a brownish gray mix of the Mars Black and a very granulating brown. Can't put more to them, maybe? No, hematite brown. That I'm using in here to define some of these textures. And then I keep on going back to my more staining paints to get some more detail. Now, I don't have anything with too fine a point right now, both because I'm traveling and because I desperately need new detailed brushes. So I'll be putting in an order from Rosemary Brushes soon. I might write a blog post about the brushes that I use, that I purchase, and what I like about them. When my other siblings, so I'm one of 5 siblings. One of my other siblings had gifted me some Winsor Newton Series 7 for this past Christmas. Past Christmas? Is it this Christmas? Yeah, I think it was this Christmas. Goodness. Time has been really weird through the pandemic. I'm pretty sure it was this past Christmas. And those were my original, like those were, when I first started watercolor, those were the Kolinsky sables that were originally recommended to me, and so they were my first nice brushes many, many years ago. They are ferociously expensive and have had some degradation in quality, so it was interesting to try them again. I still have those old brushes, or at least some of them. So I now also have some new ones from my sibling. But yeah, but I need new brushes. Was where that was going, I guess. We'll hack up some of his brushes, take the shears to them. He liked the regular patterns. I mean, yeah. There's definitely uses to brushes that are all hacked up. But I like having some brushes that aren't. And those get lots of use. So I do get new brushes every few years. I will get, every 3 years or so, I get a dozen or so brushes. And I use a lot of size 3s, a lot of size 1s. I also have some 00s, some bigger brushes. The bigger brushes I don't find really need to be replaced very often at all. Like they do lose a point, but for what I use bigger brushes for, it's really not a problem that they lose a point. So, buy them once and they last many years. Okay, this is dry. I'm gonna do something bizarre, and I'm actually going to use a whiteout, I think, to add a dot on the eye, because I did not preserve my whites properly, and I'm traveling, so we're going to do the travel edition of things. I'm just trying to figure out which one of these whiteouts is still good. So this is my nephew's playroom that I'm in, as I mentioned, but it's also got this little working desk, so that a grown-up like me can work. It's got a whole bunch of office supplies, but not art studio stuff. My old bedroom has been converted into an art studio for visiting artist children, which is really neat. But unfortunately, it didn't really have great light for did not have really great light for streaming. Well, that's a little alarming. I might then go in with a pencil and add a little bit more fine detail. Again, this could be done just fine with a brush, but I do not have a detail brush that has a point on it. So a little bit of pencil definition. Never hurt anyone. And then I'm gonna, oh, maybe this one will be a little bit better. Yeah, this one might be fine. I just grabbed a brush roll that had whatever in it. The truth is, I desperately need to get some fresh brushes, because it has been about 3 years since my last brush purchase. And yeah, so I'm just gonna do a few little darkening up of spots, but I don't want to, I feel like I'm awfully painfully close to overworking this, so I am going to wrap this up shortly. And again, I don't don't have any great detail brushes on me or in general, so and this paper isn't taking to detail real great. It is the Etcher 100% cotton, but it is I don't know, I think it might be moisture damaged as well. So it's fuzzing up my detail quite a bit, even beyond what my limited brush ability is. Anyway, I think this is an acceptable end to this stream. Yeah, sorry. Oh, hi, Dan. How are you? Yes, this is an Etcher hot press, the regular sketchbook, not the perfect sketchbook. And it's a hot press finish. I guess I should probably label this. Let's see. What do I have in the way of office supplies here? I have this Sharpie. Lauren, where did you find this? And can somebody look up the scientific name? Ooh, actually, if I've got, oh, that's interesting. Maybe I'll just use a Sharpie for some of these details. Yeah, that's nice. Does somebody have can somebody look up the scientific name for a yellow-bellied sapsucker, please? Two houses over from parents' house. Which side? Like closer to Broadview or closer the other direction? So you were visiting parents already when you found that and sent me that message? There was some questioning in the comments, and I don't know if you saw it because I know that you've got work, but about parents being okay with being a storage facility for dead birds for me. And I said, I don't know, I imagine that it wouldn't be a problem. They're probably just surprised that it hadn't happened earlier, but that it wasn't me, it was you who asked them. So did they know when you found the bird, or did you find the bird first, send me a message, and then bring them a dead bird? I was doing gardening at Ken's biggest fear was, oh, okay, that makes sense. Sorry, so I was trying to picture this picture, and I was like, that's not anybody's front yard. No, oh, okay, I understand. You were at Ken's. Okay, got it. Okay, whatever. Has somebody found me what the scientific name of a yellow-bellied sapsucker is yet? Could somebody... Oh, sorry. Dan, thank you, Dan. Where did moisture damage come from? Just from the book being out and it being very humid where I live. I live in the cold variety of rainforest. So there's massive moisture swings depending on whether we're in heating season or not, and also in general, the relative humidity is high. Sorry, so today is the 8th? Today's the 8th or the 9th? 9th? 8th? 7th? What day is it? Okay, 8th. Okay, so found. Oh, 6, 10, 20, 21, near you and Gerard. Did Ken know that you were taking home a dead bird from his yard? Okay, I'm gonna call that done. I think it's a little bit overworked, unfortunately, but yeah. So you were live. So you just wanted to say this looks so good. Thanks, Lise. Hi everyone. Bye everyone. This is right though, it does look really nice. Yeah, yep. these are always interesting challenges. And as sad as it is that, you know, birds die in window strike fatalities, I'm glad that that we're able to make something of it. Beauty and death and what have you. Okay, thanks everyone. Bye-bye.